Hi gang, let's discuss the various methods there are for cleaning dirty car parts.
Hello everyone. As I'm moving off of the body, which is just waiting for all the systems, the mechanical systems, hydraulics, brakes, engines, that type of stuff, waiting for that to get done, I'm at that point where I'm having to refurbish engines, transmissions, front ends, cross members, that type of thing, differential. So when you're doing a restoration, the first thing you got to do after you've dismantled all of these bits and pieces is start to refurbish them, which means cleaning. All right, so there's various options to cleaning. There's sandblasting or media blasting. Let's not get into vapor and wet blast. There's blasting. There's just regular sanding and polishing with various hand tools. There's cleaning them with solvents such as gasoline, the old go-to process for degreasing things, but now we have degreasers and all kinds of solvents that you can use in lieu of gasoline. I happen to believe gasoline is still the best thing out there, but people these days are all freaked out because you can blow yourself up, apparently. But even though that's how we've been doing it for 100 years, all of a sudden you can blow yourself cleaning with gasoline. So, since I'm at this point, I thought I'd kind of review the processes you have, because everyone has to clean parts. And then I'm just going to kind of do a comparison to see if any of the new gee whiz ways of doing it are any better than how we've been doing it for a million years. So here we have a cross member. So I took this outside. I have one of those cheap Harbor Freight red sandblaster tubs. I have a beefy compressor, which you need to run it. And I did the old-fashioned way, and I'm in Florida, so my entire backyard is sand. So I'm at no issues finding a media to blast. I literally just shovel it from my yard into the blaster tub and have at it. So this cross member from the 67 was, as you would expect from a 67, under the layers of crud was the whatever remnants of black paint were on it. And this took a while because of all the nooks and crannies, right? You got inside you got to get to, plus just nooks and crannies. So I'm going to say that took me about 15 minutes to do. At the end, it's brand new, okay? And not only is it brand new, it is textured from the abrasive of the sand. It's ready for some type of coating, all right, directly. So no nonsense. I might degrease it just in case, but other than that, it's ready to go, and in many ways better than other processes because it does have that texture that's been etched into it by the sand. All right. Now, similarly, I did these parts. Now, it's been 2 or 3 days in Florida, so rust is always trying to get to you. So there's a shock absorber. There's half of a brake caliper, and here's the steering arm, or whatever this thing is called. And again, it's beautiful. It's ready for paint. There's nothing. There's no intermediate steps. There's nothing unless, again, you want to degrease them. But again, they're perfect. just notice here I used one of the cups or the pistons to, you know, keep the inside from getting scratched by the sand. And I mean, it took the chrome or nickel coating, whatever's the final coating, it took it right off down to the copper. So I have these on order, no big deal. But they're beautiful. So here's the next weapon in our arsenal. Yes, it's an ultrasonic. I got the 20 liter, something like that, 2022. Anyways, I think they're all made by the same company, and then they just slap on their logo, so I don't think it really makes a difference which one you get in this consumer market. So I just got it yesterday. I threw in a couple of parts, threw in my own solution of simple green and purple stuff, purple power, whatever, kind of in a 10-to-1 ratio. And the reports on this are that it takes a while to heat up, and it does. Not as bad as some, though. I think it'll be take about 3 hours to get up to 60 degrees, because I'm at around 2.5 now, and 60 degrees Celsius, I don't have the math in front of me, but it's pretty hot. So I mean 180, somewhere in there. And then this one just goes up to 30-minute max. Now I've run it through a couple of times. I never really had it as hot as it is right now. And I'm gonna run it one more time, but it is, with that solution, getting the grease and grime off of it. But it's not touching rust, and it's not supposed to touch rust. So again, keep that in mind. We had sandblasting, which in one fell swoop in 15 minutes took off everything known to mankind on this thing and these parts here. Here, I'm going to be going through probably 90 minutes to 2 hours of cycles to get the grime off. There will still be rust. That's a whole nother issue. All right, so here we go. I've put it through its 4th cooking at the highest that it's gotten to. And it's still only at 53, which is hot. I mean, you can't keep your hand in there. So here they are, just fresh out. And again, they're hot. So let's just... That's a spacer inside the axle hub front, and it was caked in grease and nasty, so it is spotless. This guy, it was caked and nasty, no doubt about it. And I've had to, between cookings, I've had to scrape the thick deposits, and I'm happy to say that it is, there's still some gross down in here, but it is tar, so it was very, very thick and nasty. And there's still some stuff on the outside, but it is pretty good. This guy seems pretty clean. What the hell that was? Some washer or something? What was that? I'll have to figure out what that was. Couldn't have gone far. Let's see, some other things. These go under the, or in between the rubber bumper block on the front cross member. It's just a spacer, and it's just got some nasty on there that it's not going to come off with this. That's got to be mechanically removed. This is a spring off of the dust keeper. I was pretty caked with nasty, and I got to say it's clean. Another part of that, it had grease and oil in the insides. These are all clean bits. And then let's see, what do we got? We got another one of these. Oh, we got this guy. And it is finally clean after 4 hits in this thing. It's interesting, it's got a haze of rust on it from sitting in a tank with this stuff in it. Front steering link, that's clean. And then finally the springs, which, let's just see if I can get my finger out. Alright, so it is gross stuff, but it's coming off with the swipe of a finger. So, alright, so my review, and I know you can, I mean, there's hundreds of videos on these things and whether they work. And then there's another 100 on the best mixture of stuff to put in here, and they rate it and they do all kinds of things. I think in general, Simple Green does rank pretty high on the 10 or 15 I watched. And then, just to save you some time, the little packets of Cascade that you throw in a dishwasher, they also rank very high, and because they're the most inexpensive solution to this solution. So that'll save you a lot of time watching a bunch of videos. So again, the moral of the story is it takes a long time for it to heat up, on 4 or 5 hours, I'm guessing. And then it does a good job. You'll have to run it through multiple cycles, which, again, you know, versus scrubbing with a brush in gasoline or whatever, I mean, it would take probably 5 minutes per widget of scrubbing it with a brush, a part cleaner brush, in a little tub of gasoline, and eventually you'd get it just as clean as this did in 2 hours of just letting it soak. Okay, so whatever floats your boat, there will be applications where this is good and useful, and it does do this. But having said all that, this is just step 1. Now I've got to get the rust off, which is a whole nother thing. All right, I know this looks like an ad for Evapo Rust, but believe me, I ain't getting paid shit for any of this. But after lots of research, this seems to come out as the top rust remover. Eastwood's got one with high ranks, but you know, they're all going to be similar, but this one always ranks high. The key to this guy is that you don't dilute it, and you can use it for a couple of iterations. You don't have to throw it away after one time, but it is kind of pricey. This is a gallon, and I think it's 30, 35 bucks, somewhere in there. Okay, so you know, a gallon will not fill this by any means. So, you know, you'd be into 90 bucks, 3 gallons or so to get this up to a level where this stuff is submerged, let alone all of this. So just know that that's how these work. And the other thing is that this stuff, I don't know about the others, you got to let it sit for, you know, a day, 2 days. The longer you let it sit, the more it cleans the rust, and it will get rid of every bit of rust in every nook and cranny. I'm not doubting that, debating that. And it is non-harmful to the metal. All right, it doesn't etch it, it doesn't do nothing. I'm not going to say, because I haven't done that much research, if it's pH neutral or whatever. That's irrelevant. It does not melt the metal away. Okay. So those are the pros, and some of the cons is the time it takes, the expense that it takes. And at the end of this process, you will have, because I've already degreased it in the ultrasonic, you will have spankingly fresh, clean, beautiful bits and pieces that are now ready to be painted or, you know, coated in some way. All right, so I'll just run a test for you guys, just so you can, again, this series is a one-stop shop. So I've got these in here. I'll pour this gallon in real time. Look at that. Look at that pour. Hey, look at that. Hey. We'll see how much gets covered. I mean, I'll try to arrange it better. Just as an aside, I saw a video of this chap in England. He was on that show where they revamped cars, bought them and flipped them. Can't remember. Big tall guy. Anyways, the caption for the video is, "I remove all the rust off of some type of frame, some vehicle frame, using evaporust." And I'm like, oh my God, you know, how you got to soak this stuff. So it's like, you got to have a swimming pool filled with this stuff. And sure enough, he built a vat that was probably 4 feet by 3 feet by 12 feet or whatever, big enough to hold this frame, car frame in it. And he literally filled it with 50-gallon drums of this stuff. Again, this was like 30 to 40 bucks a gallon. And he literally filled that thing enough to submerge an entire car frame. And although it worked, and it got inside, you know, every frame member and every nook and cranny, that thing came out brand new. I can't even imagine the cost of that venture, let alone that after it was done, he had this swimming pool that he had to pump all that stuff out of and dismantle and clean up. So it made for great television, but oh my God, was that unrealistic. So just for giggles, I covered as much as I can, so I can't get this full caliper in here. Could I have done anything differently? I could have a smaller container, but this is what I got. That would raise the level. I could put things in here like bags of sandwich bags filled with water and stuff to displace and raise the level of this stuff, but yeah, I think I'm gonna make my point here. And for giggles, I threw these springs in, and so when we're done, just the bottom, like first coil, should come out looking handsome. But this is gonna take a while. So the results of evaporust are in, and this has actually been over almost 2 days. So the springs, I only put the lower portion in, and yes, you can see the difference. This was the caliper. You can see the part that was not in versus in. That's a terrific comparison. This does not belong in the picture. All right, these little clips. Yeah, rust is gone. Rust is gone. Remember, these had all been ultrasonically cleaned to get the grease off. This guy was rough, and it's there's still grease in there. These little guys. This is that part of that assembly of this, the spring under this, which they're just a cap to protect this section of the shaft. So that came out well. This came out good. These actually cleaned up pretty good. They were kind of nasty and gnarly, but it got some stuff off I didn't think it would. These came out excellent. These are the spacers in the hub, and these are the grease caps in the hub. And here's the resultant stuff, because it says you can reuse it. So I'm gonna filter it back in here and save what I can. All right, so there you have it. I'm forming opinions on the process, because now these parts are ready for, quote, painting and putting back on the car. And this is true. Okay, that's a true statement. But when you compare that, okay, to this, which is the result of sandblasting, it's night and day, right? There's no comparison. Night and day. It's certainly on bigger parts like this. There ain't no way you're going to put that in evapor rust, or you're going to be breaking your bank. All right, so I'm going to do one more test for everybody, which I know the result already, but I'm trying to inform my YouTube watchers on this process. So I'll run that test for you to see, and then I'm going to form an opinion on all of this. But I kind of think you know where I'm going with it. Now, what do we have here? What we have is about a 50% mixture of muriatic acid, or pool acid. They use it to put in your pool. Lots of uses. And I usually use it full strength, but I didn't have a lot, so I kind of mixed it 50-50 in here. And I threw in a spring and a couple of rusted tools. Let's see what happens. All right, so I took the spring out. It's literally been about 5 minutes, and again in a 50-50 ratio. But you can clearly see what was in the acid versus not in the acid, right? And if we look at this end, this was the evapor rust end. And so evapor rust and then nothing, evapor rust and then muriatic acid. Let's give it a little while longer. I'll still just do half of it. All right, we're at 10 minutes. And there's the acid side. Here is the original side. Clear delineation. And then what's funny is actually right here. This is the end with the evapor rust. And you can see even on this spiral here, the difference between what was evapor rusted and then not evapor rusted but treated with acid. That cleared a line right across there. Pretty crazy. All right, so the moral of this story is 24 hours to 36 actually to get this kind of patinaed black coating versus 10 minutes. And I would give this, again, I usually do it full strength and this would be done in 5 minutes, but I thinned it down. And even at 10 minutes, you can see there's a clear winner here without doing nothing. And muriatic acid is cheap, you know, $10 a gallon, maybe. I don't think it's even that much. So, do you need evapor rust? I don't know. You do need to soak this in just some water and baking soda when you're done, just to neutralize the acid, because it will continue to etch at it. It would take a long time to etch through steel like this, but if you were doing thinner parts, the acid can be something you need to take into account. But as long as you neutralize it once the rust is gone, which only takes 5 minutes, it's good to go. There's certain metals you can't put in it, like aluminum will react and just dissolve. So it only works on steel. That might be some saving grace to evaporust. I don't even know, but I know that's for sure. So I only put steel parts in there. I don't think it does anything to copper or brass, but I don't know that. I'm speculating, so don't sue me. So anyways, the other thing that's funny is it's already flash rusting after 5-10 minutes talking to you. So that just proves it was down to nothing. So there you go. You're gonna have to dissuade me from using muriatic acid, as long as you're not an idiot and, spray it into your eyes on purpose just to see if it makes you cry. It's relatively safe. I mean, you throw it in pools every day to clear the algae. All right, so I'm going to put the other half in, get this guy cleaned up, and on with our next lesson. Okay, one last look at the results of roughly 10 minutes. I had to flip it, so 20 minutes real time, but 10 minutes per side of a right off the car spring versus the original, and then some evaporust on the end. Let's compare that evaporust end to the metal or the acid. Yeah, it's got some like dark patina on it, whatever. So that kind of means it's converting something, kind of like OSFO, but maybe not. Speculating there. But you can see we're down to bare metal and with a little bit of shine under it, as a matter of fact. Again, I didn't scrub this with gasoline or put it in the ultrasonic. So the grease up here is protecting it, but you can still see the paint. Okay, the acid doesn't eat the paint, but you can see what's left of the original. So I kind of have a clear winner here, 36 hours versus 10 minutes. All right, so we're getting there. Just thought I'd show you some parts out of the sandblast, or the inside, Harbor Freight special. They're beautiful, brand new. This one's actually got a dent in that front that I'll have to bang out. But again, good as new. I guess it took me about maybe 10 minutes per piece. So we'll just keep that in mind as we're summarizing our series here on the best way to clean up your parts and get them refurbished. A couple more specimens to add. This pivot, wishbone pivot, brake discs, pretty obvious. I think this was here. These guys, brand new, sandblasters. Can't beat them. The only thing, you can use different grits and walnut shells and this, that, and the other depending on what you're blasting and what the finish is. So in car restoration, you're typically wanting to remove all the nastiness, whether it's paint or grime, whatever it is, rust. And you like the finish it leaves because it's a very, porous is not the word, but very grainy texture. So it really grabs the paint, or the paint really grabs the metal, I don't know how you want to look at it. So as long as you're careful around things that need to be smooth, like bearings and stuff, like I'll probably hit this with some 320 or something just to get it a little smoother. Maybe here. That went well. Other than that, though, any place where a seal is gonna fit or a bearing has to fit in, you might want to hit those with some higher grit. sandpaper or some sort of polishing pad, something. But other than that, sandblasting is my friend. Although it is, well, outside sandblasting, very dirty, but it's outside. And if you're using the old cheapy Harbor Freight cabinets, you do have to modify them because they suck when they come out of the box. But with a couple of tweaks, you can get them running really good. That's what I'm doing all of these with. And again, I'm averaging 10 minutes apart. Like, you know, that's a lot of stuff to blast, whereas that was only, 4 minutes. So on average, say 10 minutes apart. I got the spring ready to go, so we'll be able to compare that. Let's just keep going. Meanwhile, back with my other experiment. This is stuff that I degreased in the ultrasonic, although some of it I didn't. Like I didn't degrease these big bowls or these chassis holding bolts. They were just nasty. I mean, they had all kinds of grease and just nasty. Here's the other one that I didn't sandblast, but it's clean. It's down to bare metal. It's just got this black patina on it, which is not a phosphate. Like, I don't know, is that a phosphate? It's coming out with an acid. I don't know. I might have to do the research to know if even muriatic acid leaves some type of converted iron oxide into iron phosphate to see if it's actually is leaving a anti-rust kind of patina. But this is also interesting. This is directly just a pile of stuff I threw in the acid, and those things are clean as a whistle. And again, amazing job on these guys, because I wish I had taken a picture of this. I was actually going to just buy new ones because these look so nasty, but I mean, that came up brand new. So that's really awesome. So this was kind of experiment 2, which is after you degrease them, to throw them just in some muriatic acid. All right, so we've seen the results of that. All right, so here's a slightly different comparison. This guy was just straight sandblasted, muck and all, grease, everything. Still see a little bit of crud in the corner there. And there's a little bit of flash rust, because, it's been 3 days in an air-conditioned room. This went through, I think 4 ultrasonics to degrease it, and then that was it. And then just now I dipped it in the acid for, maybe 10 minutes, and you can see where the level of the acid was right there. Okay, so it did further treat the ultrasonically cleaned metal and got it to the finish you're seeing here, as compared to a just flat out sandblasted from scratch. Similarly, this guy, I didn't even degrease it. I just threw it in the acid just to see what the hell. So you can see that, that is where the acid level was coming across here. So you can see it ate the rust. This was the natural patina, so to speak, taken right off the car with no nothing. You see the acid, what it did, it kind of just made it, just ate the rust. And it probably works on the grease a little bit with more time. Well, it does, we know that, because the nuts and bolts came out beautiful. And then comparatively to the sandblasted one, all right, night and day. So let's continue sandblasting everything. Okay, so all this stuff has been blasted and is beautiful. One last step before paint, and that's to just degrease it, because even though it's been blasted, well, A, it's got sand residue on it, and like if it had grease on it, that grease is flowing around or shooting around in the tank and getting on stuff, and it's just good to just clean them, degrease them, and then they're perfect, brand new from the showroom when you paint them. So here's kind of the end of my testing on this stuff. So that's blasted, beautiful. This stuff went through the degreasing, and then, the ultrasonic degreasing, and then it went into acid to get the rust off of them. And then, so this is what you got. So, you know, I'm gonna paint these based on what they were painted back in the day. And these, I'm still kind of, like, if this is where I was stopping and I didn't know about sandblasting and how awesome it is, if this is where I was stuck, it'd be like, well, what do I do now? You know, it's not shiny new metal. I mean, you go at it with a wire brush, maybe, steel wool, you know. So the moral of the story is, get a bloody sandblaster. You can buy those cabinets. I mean, if you're going to get into restoring a vehicle, there's certain stuff you've got to commit to buying. And one of them is a good air compressor, because all your air tools need lots of CFM, cubic feet per minute, lots of flow. So you got to get one of those the biggest one you can afford. And then you need a sandblaster, either the outdoor one with the pot or the Harbor Freight cabinet. And then you have to just modify the basically the outtake of it, and then they work perfect. If you don't modify them, and there's plenty of videos on YouTube how to modify them, I'm not going to waste your time, but they work. And if you don't modify them, they're useless. If you do modify them, they're awesome. So these need to go into the sandblaster, and then everything will be beautiful and ready for painting. All right, everything has been blasted, degreased, and then dried a little bit in the sun. A little bit interesting how that thing flashed so fast. And then of all the bits and pieces, the brake discs flash really fast again. So interesting, different type of metal. Check into this a little bit. Might have to blast it again. I'm not sure what's going on there.
So get your gasoline and a sandblaster, get after those dirty parts.